it's a surprise sort of a decision which is taken in a very short notice and an unexpected notice. One thing is always important, that we as physical therapists and on behalf of the Academy of Orthopedic Manual Physical Therapists, we have been educating physical therapists and students all around the globe. And this Facebook page is a straight what is called as the evidence for the support that the globe has given to the AOMPT, making it the world's largest manual therapy academy by the number of followers, 7,600, something around that. So remember that we have a responsibility also, we have a social responsibility, and to ensure the upgradation happens, but at the same time the concerns of what I have been getting inputs from the participants of the upcoming conferences. My focus today is basically on and centered around the conferences held in India. And the objective of this session to come live is only one. We must learn from our mistakes, but we must not keep repeating the mistakes. The mistakes which were committed in 2020, it should not repeat now. In what sense? First, I'll give you a historic perspective. What happened in 2020? You all know that the mid-March onwards, the central government of India imposed the strict lockdown. But the cases were there right from December, which was not disclosed by China. And of course, when it came to India, Jan end and February, it was detected. People did not take it very seriously. Of course, the whole world, it was like exploding as a pandemic in the Europe, and there were strict lockdowns. But India did not take it seriously at all. And we are yet to know how many people actually died. There's a huge controversy in the number of deaths that is reported versus the death that actually happened. Because the huge population in our country and the diversified healthcare system, the healthcare system is not sufficient enough to meet all the population and their needs. So huge crisis was there. In the first, for the hospital and the beds itself. In the second wave, it was the huge crisis for the oxygen cylinders, the remdesivir injections. The vaccines have done their substantial work, thanks to of course, the government of India for making it available faster to the public. But even their efficacy studies, they were all short term. We are not yet sure of the long term efficacy. We might need a booster dose, which many of the countries have already started giving, but India is not yet come to that stage. We are anticipating that third wave is not yet come, so nothing will happen. Almost a few months before, the Delta variant and the Delta Plus was a huge concern for the world, but India, it was nothing. So we all believe that the pandemic is over, and then it's time for direct conferences. In 2020, what happened? People did not know that this pandemic of such a proportion will come. So they registered for the conferences. All were direct conferences. What happened? When the lockdown was imposed, the conferences got indefinitely postponed without a date. And what happened to the conference fee? The registration, it was not refunded, and the participants were told that we'll hold it at a later date and you can attend that time. You will get the conference kit, you will get the whatever the certificate and things. And then the conference was converted into online conference. Same like how it happened in colleges, because students paid the fee for direct classes. and in the end they got only online classes, including the practical subjects and clinical subjects. But still, safety of the students were the high priority for the government. Safety of citizens and future citizens, including school children. So everyone were given holidays. And subsequently what happened was, there were so many cancellation of the conferences, because all those which were scheduled till the June, July, August, everyone cancelled the conferences subsequently. Everyone was expecting that it will recover, it will come back so we can hold. But for every conference to organize it, the best organizing committee needs at least 6 months. You can't announce a conference and hold it next month. So then the query came, now, the present, what are the lessons from the past? I want to actually think from a perspective of a participant, as a participant of a conference. What makes me to attend a direct conference? What are the list of points? Even as I talk now, as you are all listening to me, you can put your points in the comments so that I can address them parallelly. But the important structure of what does the participant expect out of a direct conference which they don't get in an online conference? In a direct conference, the first and the foremost important thing, we all as human beings, we like to directly see human beings, the crowd of people. Students, seeing a lot of students together from different colleges. And speakers, organizers, seeing huge number of participants attending at their place in their state, organized by their association or foundation. The basic thing is the numbers. So now the question comes, the first thing with this is, are the organizers informing the local health authorities and taking the permissions to hold the direct conference? Because gathering, right, to some extent, the purpose of the gathering is important. Even weddings, the limitation of numbers were there, which were just now lifted. Funerals, the limitations were number of attendees. The purpose, if the purpose is learning, how the direct will improve the learning better than an online? I agree that if it is a workshop, definitely direct workshop will have a difference. You will have a world of difference, because the instructor will hold your hand and you will show you that which is the manual technique, where to keep your fingers. Are you actually feeling the bone as bone or muscle as muscle? Direct workshops, that is hands-on training. But in a conference, what is it that you are going to get direct? Networking? You think that networking is not possible in an electronic forum like Facebook, to add friends, stay connected with many? Or what way you are going to establish your visibility to the others? Okay. First and foremost, the facts that happen in conferences. When I am registering, first I see for the first announcement. What do I see? I see which city it is organized. Because I see that what places I can go around nearby. And every conference announcement essentially comes with places to visit near the city or the conference venue, and how much distance. So it is a part of tourism. You go to a conference, but primary selection comes to, if the conference happens in Goa, the first priority comes to, yeah, this is an opportunity to see Goa. For the faculty, teaching faculty, they can get easily permission from the college, and they can go on duty and they can go present a paper in the conference. Immediately after the presentation, they can go to the beach near the venue. For the students, they will never have an opportunity to actually collect together with their friend circle and go for an outing to Goa, because parents will not allow. But if you tell them that it's a conference, definitely they are going to permit. They're going to give money also for the fees. So that is the first priority that comes, the city. Because if it happens in my city, very few people will attend that. If they are not allowed to travel outstation and stay outstation and all that, such kind of family environment, people will attend from the same city. Or they may be part of the organizers. Otherwise, most of the people prefer attractive locations. Conference held in Shimla, conference held in Nainital, Mussoorie, conference held in, you can imagine, the Trivandrum or even Alapi, the beautiful scenic places. Definitely the registrations will happen first. And the next thing comes to who is organizing. Whether you have attended their conference previously, have they been systematic with the registration, the certification issuing, plus the facilities what they provide, the food what they provide. Especially some of us as participants, we usually are more concerned about the food taste than the quality of the lectures that is given in the conference. And this food definitely is very important. You mean to say all those, we are organizing the conference now, 500 plus people minimum they are attending, and they are all announced that they are hybrid. You can have an option of online plus offline, which is direct. Will the certificate be different? Will the fees be different between, if the fees is different, definitely yes, they have announced that online only participants this is the fee, and the offline one this is the fee. Yes, fees is different. Will the certificate be different? I don't think so. So you're going to get the same certificate for a lesser fee. It's a benefit for you. That means you have to choose online mode. I am not against the offline, but I want to know the safety precautions, what is done for the offline and direct. As a citizen of the country and also as a speaker for more than 150 conferences, I have given lectures and presented more than 38 research papers. And I have just attended the conferences as guest of honor or any other things. Around 25 to 30 conferences. The total list is about 250 number of conferences which I have participated. But that was all before the COVID. So now it's a responsibility for the participant, because one thing I will tell you, all of you who are participating in this conference, you are definitely paying the fee. Have you attended any webinar during this lockdown? You might be thinking, the webinar fee is only 100 rupees. Webinar fee is only 200 rupees. But still you ask 10 questions. What is the topic? What is taken in that webinar? You want to know really is it worth or not? Because you have attended tons of free webinars throughout this lockdown. And you know that free of cost you can get the information. So you don't want to pay the money and take a paid webinar, which is even 100 rupees or 200 rupees. And all these conferences, be it online or offline, always starts with 1000 rupees, the fee. So for that 1000 rupees, what are you going to get? Are you supposed to ask it? Aren't you supposed to ask it? Unfortunately, the participants do not see who are the speakers. Conference organizers also don't release the list of speakers. And more importantly, you might even see the additional things are more highlighted in the conference announcements. Some of them might project the places of tourism, or they might project the DJ dance and the cultural events and the competition announcements are given first. Abstracts, which are like condensed part of a research which is submitted for evaluation and scrutiny, so that you get opportunity to present it either as a platform presentation in the stage, or you are presenting as a printed format as a poster. Abstract submission deadlines. They keep the deadline till the last week before the conference. How can you scrutinize 100 plus abstracts within a week? So at the end of it, historically, if you see anybody who has presented in the conferences or anybody who submitted in the conferences happening in India especially, no abstract was rejected from platform or poster presentations. Because essentially organizers want to encourage people, more and more people to present. Because that is better than just participating, attending and going around the place and academically you are doing something. Even the college principals, they will be happy to permit you for a direct conference. If you are going on the stage and you are representing the college, you are winning a prize for the institution, or your effort to learn and present that helps you to become a better learner, and it gives you a better visibility among the professional community. Definitely it's worth it. But for that, valuable inputs should come when you are presenting. When you are on the stage, we always think that, oh, I have to stand on the stage, people might ask me questions. This is what thinking comes. Have you ever thought that when I am presenting on the stage is whatever they ask, I will take it as a suggestion and I will do a better study in the future. So always it is important that the learner, if someone is giving a suggestion, it may be as a criticism, it may be targeting your performance that it was below the level, but even then, it is that person's perspective. Accept it and try to see that how well you can learn and become a better professional. So there is no what is called as hard and fast rules of how to be a best learner. If you are a best person, you can be a best learner. How you can be a best person? By ensuring that you are with the best people. All through your life, you know different categories of people. So you should know who is genuine, who is not. Right from your formative years of adolescence, when you choose your friends, same way you choose your guides, teachers, mentors. Search. Try to find out. Whoever is lenient does not mean that they are good. And whoever is strict does not mean they are bad. Because they want to make you better. At the same time, you should also ensure that how well the person has been able to actually prove it. If, for example, I am going for suggestion to another person, but if the person is a big achiever, all around the world everybody is appreciating him. For me, he shouts at me like I am a dog, or I am just anything or nothing, and he destroys my morality, but still I will accept that he is the boss because he has the credentials. But usually those who have the big credentials, they never insult everyone. They only tell that the action which you did is wrong. They won't tell that you are wrong. They won't target you personally. So you can clearly know that. Why I am telling this is because for a webinar we ask so many questions. for small fee. How can you pay a huge fee for a conference without knowing the content, the scientific content of the conference? And then the next thing comes to the safety. Safety financially. There has to be clear-cut policies of cancellation rules. If the conference is cancelled by the organizers, how much will be refunded? It should be listed in the conference flyer itself. Otherwise, don't register for that conference. Because your money will be stuck when it gets cancelled, and afterwards it might be converted to an online conference only, and you will not get anything extra. If they have not announced and you still want to attend and you want to inquire, ask them through email, and if you call them and tell also, ask them to send it in email so that you will have a proof that they are supposed to refund the money. But unfortunately, the email ID of all the conference providers or the abstract submissions are only Gmail. It's not an official conference website. If, for example, AOMPT, the academy which I am representing, if I am telling that our example, the website is www.aompt.org. So the abstract submission ID or the enquiries email ID should be info@aompt.org or scientific@aompt.org. So these are all registered domains of email. If I am telling that abstracts.2021@gmail.com, such an email is not valid at all. Anyone can create a Gmail address and later it will become deactivated also. There may be even scams. People can collect money, they can tell that they will give you this kits, that kits and everything, and finally when you go there they may tell that because of COVID situation we didn't get the bags, so there is shortage of bags, we'll send the bags later, and you will never receive the bags, and after 6 months you will also forget asking them again and again. The same thing happens to certificates also. So I want to organize it step by step, one by one. Ensure that the fee that you pay should be worth it, and also clarify with the organizers that what is the cancellation policy, because I am not talking just out of my dreams, but one most important thing which the world is aware now as on date today is the Omicron, the newest variant of the novel coronavirus, globally been recognized. WHO has alerted all the countries. Check the news in the Google that New York, complete lockdown from today. China was imposing the lockdown last month. Nobody knew the reason. Now they say that this new variant is actually from South Africa, and this variant affects people who are vaccinated with both doses, irrespective of every type of vaccine. So it's called as a breakthrough infection, and it is many times more than the Delta and the Delta Plus. So now we have come to a stage where 2022 is going to be another 2020. I am not creating a panic between among all of you, but what I do not want to happen is to lose the future physios. Because healthcare workers we are, frontline workers as physiotherapists, we need to be alive. Although Omicron variant does not cause deaths as of now, to panic, your quality of life is going to get affected, and economically you are going to be challenged, and public health system will be going for a crash, especially in India if more people are getting COVID with the new variant positive. Why unnecessarily put yourself at risk, put your families in stress at no liability, where organizers will not provide you even the money back? Even for the speakers who are traveling from state to state, please ask the organizers to book your tickets. You do not book your tickets. Organizers will tell after the conference we'll refund. You know the airline cancellation policies. Your money you will lose. So ask the organizers to book the tickets for you. You do not book the tickets. At the same time, ensure that your family is informed, your dependents are informed, because you are taking a risk and traveling and going. Because I really salute the speakers, because the speakers want to address the large gatherings. They want to teach. They want to share their knowledge. It's their life passion. So that is why they are traveling for conferences and giving lectures honorarily. No money is given usually, many of the conferences. But these speakers also should be alive, also should be healthy. So it's very, very important to see that whether you want to be really there on the stage, in an AC auditorium, 500 people in one place, seating capacity is 1500 and registration is allowed for 1800, 900. It usually happens because conferences, they assume that students will be roaming around outside, inside. Everybody will not be inside. So they take more people than the capacity. So clarify from them how you are going to maintain that precautions of the ministry. Because you have every right to know even how the plates are being washed for food. You might think about the taste of the food, but think also about, get your memory of old conferences, direct conferences, how people crowd for the, with the plates, how they crowd, how do they take the food from and they put it in their plate and go. After eating, how did they throw the plates? Recollect. Don't think that anything different is going to happen now. Be alerted, alarmed if people are not giving any information to you. Why? Because we can be fooled once, but we cannot be getting fooled every time. We can do mistake once or twice, but we cannot do the mistake again and again. So make sure that you are alerted with this information. Ask the organizers. You have every right to ask. Webinar, for example, you are directly asking the teacher, are you teaching in depth or is it like basic level? You are asking the teacher directly on face. Organizer is just like a host. You can easily ask any of your questions. They are supposed to answer. There are upcoming conferences happening in Hyderabad, Delhi, Punjab, Bhopal, various places. And you know, if it is a pandemic for the coronavirus, in India, physiotherapy conferences are an endemic. Once some people start organizing the conferences, everybody starts holding the conferences. And it happens almost everywhere at the same time. Explosion of conferences happen. So beware of which conferences you have to attend, and if you are attending, what all you should ask as questions. And next thing is, of course, online option would be better rather than the direct one, until and unless you are part of the organizing committee and you know that the safety precautions, how we are going to manage and maintain. Right? Because we as professionals, we should not be ignorant. A public conference, people are attending, it's a different issue. They don't know anything. But we are physios. We can't just gather around because there is a DJ dance and party is going on. We can dance any number of times, but we have to be alive for that. We have to have money for it to live our life. The people who are dependent on us need us. If we get admitted to the hospital and we spend money for our health care, who will give you the money? So are the precautions maintained or not? Including even the legal permissions, because they have to get permission from the local health authorities. That 500 plus people are going to participate in this conference. A chief minister or a health minister giving a letter is not a permission. Best wishes letter is not a permission. Everybody, you should confirm this from the organizers. Remember that, because it's unnecessary that you actually put yourself at risk. And if you choose the online option, you are going to get the videos of all the sessions. You can watch the videos at leisure. Absolutely. There's nothing that is stopping you. Even upcoming national conference happening at Kolkata is also there. At the same time, even the Trivandrum. So there are a lot of conferences, but make sure that the online option should be the safest one for all of you. If you have to get better, you have to be alive. At the same time, you should have financially strong and a stable situation so that you can take care of your dependents and take care of yourself. Do not put the health system under overload by your negligence. The same negligence happened with the tourist spots being open for the public. People started crowding everywhere without any safety precautions. The religious places opened. Again, they are also crowding, irrespective of whatever the religion. Their belief is God is there only in the temples. The same way, don't think that learning is there only there, because you know conferences are not for, it is only for inspiration. Meeting the greatest people, talking to them, direct, taking pictures with them, maybe very memorable moments for the students, so they might keep it lifelong that such a great legend I met directly, I took a picture. They are so humble, so nice. Lifetime memories. I really agree. But rethink about the present situation. Just Google Omicron and see what is the reality in the world. Yes, of course, our Honorable Prime Minister has held a meeting with all the state representatives today morning to discuss and review the situation. Domestic air travel is going with 100% capacity, where people are sitting next to each other in the closed flight. India is yet to wake up. And we always make policies after death of people. We don't make it first. I am not questioning the government here. I am not that big to question them. I am not even questioning the organizers, because I am no way, I am also a physio, they are also a physio. But it's my responsibility and duty for the participants, because you are the future of physiotherapy. And I don't want to lose you guys. So if profession has to be better, professionals have to become better. And to become better, you have to be alive. And also, don't get deceived by the extra offers that is given. More importantly, ask for the cancellation policies. How much money will I get back if the pandemic is exploding and the conference is cancelled? Ask them. Because anywhere around the world, any physiotherapy association has not yet started direct conferences. Everyone is doing only online. You think Indians are immune? Indian physios are the strongest. Coronavirus knows, oh, this is an Indian, I should not attack. So I will go to an American. You have to think sensibly. Why the whole world is so conscious and so protecting the citizens, and also the physio organizations, they are not holding the direct conferences at all. The option is there today, it's voluntary, it is you have to decide, the participant has to decide whether it is direct or it is online. Because you can present the platform presentation also in online mode. At the same time, you can present it in the poster also in the online mode. You might think directly going there you are going to get expert suggestions. Note down the truth. Hardly 5 people are sitting inside for the paper presentations. And the paper presentations never happen in the big auditoriums or the halls. It happens in the adjacent classrooms. Who are the 5 people? The 2 judges. One from the organizer, who is a host. Other 2 are the next presenters. This is the scenario. 100 abstracts are received in the conference. 5 classrooms parallelly it happens. 20 presentations. Platform. Only 5-6 people are sitting inside. The 2 judges might give inputs, but the organizers will tell, we have to finish by 4 o'clock. Because after 4 the culturals are starting. And we think that the students actually want more the culturals. Of course, that's the truth. I as an undergraduate student, I never sat inside a conference auditorium for lecture. I used to sit inside only for the culturals, and that too not sitting, standing, dancing, everything. Those were those days, 99, 2000, 20 years back. So the present generation is more dynamic. They're waiting for the culturals, they want to actually enjoy their life, celebrate the solidarity of people to people connectivity. But unfortunately, how well it is going to be, the environment which will be safe or not, plus the financial liability, so everything, please check. Hygienic environment, or the precautions, or the permission from the health authorities. Because in the last moment, if the state or the health authorities are going to put a restriction, the cancellation of conference will happen. And who will give your money back? And how much will you get it back? So that is important. I am talking about physiotherapy conferences only. So most importantly, make sure that content, nobody is bothered. Who is the speaker? If you want to know about the speakers, when there is a list of speakers that is given by every conference, please Google their names and see what they have actually done. Get to know the speaker directly. It's your responsibility as a physical therapist to know whether those speakers have online presence. Especially after the COVID and the lockdown. If a speaker do not have an online presence, they are not a speaker. Because past 2 years, only online events have been happening. All the online events are indexed by Google by default. Everything that is a website is indexed by Google directly as the largest search engine in the world. So easily you can see that, and even the topics which they are taking, put it in Google and see what are the existing information about the topic, and also see that the topics of lectures are likely to be the recent advances, the latest developments. Google that topics and see, get the ideas so that you can submit the abstract for presentation related to the topics or the themes of the conference. Because every conference gives a theme. And on that theme only we need abstracts also, we need lectures also. That's what they actually announce. So it is your responsibility to read the flyer clearly. And also ensure that if the flyer has spelling mistakes, the same way certificate also is going to have spelling mistakes. And if the certificate has spelling mistakes, it will be dumped directly by any standardized organizations, wherever you are applying for job or higher studies or abroad, everywhere. Some conferences even advertise that the medium of instruction or the language, official language will be English. And you go there and you see that they speak in regional language. Lecture itself. This is something which you should not keep quiet there itself. Because maybe the majority is able to understand, but even if 10 people are attending, international participants, the conference name is international conference. International participants are attending. In front of them, why are you talking in regional language without a translator? This is very, very important. If you are that minority participant, how well you will feel bad. You will feel ignored. You will feel neglected. You feel sidelined. That should never happen. Official is official language. Use that. Personal, after getting down from the stage, talk with your friend in your own language. But on stage when you are there, ensure that don't use the regional language. And the other concern which is most important is, are the conference organizers checking the vaccination status? Direct participants should be fully vaccinated. You are supposed to submit the vaccination report to them. Non-vaccinated people are not allowed for the direct participation in the conferences. Have they given this? Because there are states which I know, for example, the Tamil Nadu. If you are not fully vaccinated, you cannot go to a public place. Be it a bus stand, be it a shopping complex, be it even a beach for a morning walk. If you are fully vaccinated, only you can go to the public place. This is the state rules. Is it too strict? Is it against the democracy? No. It is concerned about the people. Same way these rules should be listed out very concretely, and the terms and conditions agreement should be signed by all the participants before, because it is like consent. The person has to cooperate there. If any participant or delegate is not cooperating with the safety precautions, means they are likely to be reprimanded, separated or sent back. You should keep that rules, because it is for the safety of the other 800 plus participants. How well you are going to organize that as a safety precaution, that should be operationally well defined. Because you have a video link, you can watch, you can listen to the lecture and you can learn. Why you have to attend direct? And you see that lectures, the number of participants sitting inside the hall is really very less. Only they sit inside for culturals. Very few conferences, very few speakers will be crowd pullers, where people are glued to their seat and they are like, wow, sir is talking, I have to listen. And they will be recording also. Not everyone has that. So think seriously whether it is really needed now, or online attend it, take the same certificate, take the same materials. You are clear about the cancellation policies, they clarified. Watch the videos and learn. Watch the cultural program, the videos, whichever. Enjoy it. Going there direct, it is after you spend for the traveling train or the flight tickets, for the hotel stay. If you are going with the college bus, the principal is organizing the bus and all of you are going, how much extra expenses, everything. And then you reach there. After that, are you sure about the health risk? So this is what I want to actually highlight today. Especially the Omicron, do not ignore this. It's not a simple story. Big countries are not imposing full lockdowns just for nothing. And we don't want a full lockdown in India because it will affect our economy again seriously. It is the responsibility of the public to be conscious and ensure that we maintain safety at every level, and unnecessary things do not take risk. I am not telling that you don't come out of your houses, but see for the purpose and make sure that I follow the precautions. It is for my safety and also everyone's safety. Everything is important, and if organizers are strict, it is for my safety only. How they check in the flight, for example, they frisk us and they check whether we have any dangerous objects, but we smile and stand because it is for my safety. Same way, if organizers are giving instructions, please follow those instructions very strictly. Coming to the queries, some points. Yeah, Ritu ma'am is asking a question which is tomorrow's topic. Tomorrow we have a masterclass session on how to actually prepare an abstract for platform or poster presentations. Most importantly, the abstract is a condensed information of the full content what you are going to present. So usually the limit is given as 250 or 300 words. And you can tell a full movie story also in 250 words. You should be able to have that ability to condense. So the same way, condensing that information and submitting it as 250 words is the abstract. Every conference organizer gives the list of subheadings. They give introduction, purpose, materials and methods, data analysis, results, conclusion. They'll give some subheadings like that. So you should know that introduction means it's the background information. Purpose means what is the purpose of your paper, your research work. Whether it is assessment or it is treatment, whether it is on specific population. Materials and methods means how did you do your study. If you have treated a patient means what were the assessment findings and what were the treatment findings, if it's a case report. And data analysis is what all you measured in that patient before treatment, after treatment, and then on follow-up. How much was the change? Is it a range of motion change, or it's the quality of life change? Is it the muscle tone that is changed? Or is it the pulmonary function test that has changed? And after that it comes to what is called as the conclusion, because the change is the results, what you have found, and conclusion comes as the implication or suggestions that I found that this treatment was effective. Future studies are needed on larger sample size. So they might give subheadings like this. They might ask you to provide some keywords. The keywords will be like not the words which are already there in the title, but they can be alternate terms. If in the title I am using lumbar radiculopathy, I can use in the keywords nerve root pain. So related term I can put in the keywords. So 3 to 4 keywords depending upon the title. Everybody should be able to know that if I am keeping range of motion in the title, I can use joint mobility as a keyword. Okay. So the alternative term, synonymous terms comes in the keyword, so that they actually get listed with the abstract. Some conferences have the option of publishing the abstracts as conference proceedings, and those proceedings are published in a journal which may be electronically available, and people can search and find your abstract. This is usually happens in the international conferences that is happening outside India. you can see the probability or the provision that is available in Indian conferences and ask them if the conference proceedings or abstracts will be published, whether that publication will be as ISBN, like a textbook value it will get, or is it published in a journal which is indexed in Scopus or PubMed, so that your presentation abstract will have the global visibility and it gets that evidence it can contribute. Okay, so that way. So abstract, there are criteria that is given by the organizers. They are supposed to give you the criteria, like the subheadings which I explained now. They should also tell you that abstract scoring system. Every abstract should be scored. Like out of 10, score 2 points is given for the introduction, 2 points is given for the purpose, 3 for the methodology, 1 for the results, like that. Data analysis 2 points. So these kind of things, so 10 points. Your abstract scores more than 7, it's a good abstract. So that means they will club all the best ones maybe together. They can strategize as per their choices, but the submitting presenter should know that what is the score of my abstract, so that they get an evaluation feedback that where their abstract stand. And also at the same time, when the organizers sent the abstract to 2 people as reviewers or scientific committee people, I give a score of 6, he gives a score of 8, the average score is 7. If the score is above 5, then only the abstract will be accepted for platform presentation on the stage maybe. If it is 3 to 5, poster, the score is. If it is below 3, rejected. They have to give this. If every abstract is getting accepted, means then what is the point? What basis they decided that yours is a poster? What basis they decided that it's a platform? First 100 abstracts selected ones will be platform. After that remaining one will be poster. No, that is not quality. It's the abstract scoring that gets the quality. Because sincerely, if you want to learn, you want to get the feedback. You have made an abstract, you want to get the inputs of how to make it better. Just because it is accepted for presentation does not mean it's the best abstract. Trust me, if anybody thinks you have a best abstract, send it to me. I will show you 100 changes to make it better with supporting evidence for the 250 words. And also remember that whenever you make an abstract, do not take any sentence copy pasted from anywhere in the web, even from Wikipedia or is it the Physiopedia. Do not copy paste a sentence from another source and use the same for the abstract. You are going to be included under scientific misconduct and plagiarism. So this is something which is important, that you make the sentences yourself. And also after making the abstract, copy 3 sentences, copy, put it in Google and see whether these 2-3 sentences have come together anywhere. If not anywhere, you can be sure that yes, my abstract is the original abstract. So this is applicable for even a research report. When you are writing the full study, full paper, some conference organizers, the good people, the better standard, they ask you to submit a full research paper and they submit the full research paper in the journal. So then definitely it's worthwhile, because your research work, what you are doing for the conference, paves way for getting you indexed or a reviewed publication for you. Especially for the postgraduates and the PhD scholars and also the teaching faculty, please look for these directions. Because conference people are the best people to actually facilitate for publications, because they have a society, association, that association has a journal. So that means definitely they are likely to actually make your study into a research evidence, rather than people who just publish as a book and you don't even get a copy of that book and nobody reads that souvenir or the book later. So abstracts only will be available in the net, but that also they should explain that policies clearly. Next, if you see, there is no difficulty in conferences of physiotherapy. The difficulty is about whether the actual purpose is served. Okay, we want people to learn, whether people are learning or not. That is the point. Okay, or is it just an entertainment? For that entertainment, why take a health risk, especially by direct participation? If you are having a direct participation, ensure from your side that you are fully vaccinated. Ensure from the organizer's side what precautions they have taken, what regulatory approvals they have taken. This is what is the solution, the way forward. Okay, so there is no difficulty. Everything was discussed about physiotherapy, right? What should be the key points for documenting cases from presentation point of view? In a clinical perspective, there are only 4 aspects of how we project a case. Subjective examination findings, objective examination findings, assessment or interpretation or diagnosis or differential diagnosis, and of course the treatment planning and progression. What this is actually called as the SOAP format, SOAP. So every clinical documentation should follow the same format. So if you are having a PowerPoint presentation, you want to do it on a case, it means obviously that you have to follow the same. And ensure that you can highlight as much attractive as possible, as much globally accepted standards as possible. Because subjective examination can be shown by body chart. Rather than writing that pain is there in the shoulder, lateral aspect of the arm, posterior aspect of elbow, you can just mark it in the body chart. So it's much more easier. Sometimes even objective examination is much more easier if you are using tabulated forms to show muscle strength, muscle length, range of motion, active, passive, or joint play, every joint, what is that, mobility restricted or hypermobile or normal. So tabulated forms will be much better for the slide. So as much as possible, use pictorial, use what is called as tabulated, or even a flow chart. If you are using for subjective examination, means you can use it for different headings of subjective examination, like history, where is past history, present history, and then medical history, socio-economic history, personal history, occupational and recreational history, and then you can highlight one point. So make sure that it has to be condensed, because most of these platform presentations are maximally for 10 minutes. So don't stay in a slide beyond 30 seconds, and make sure that your slides are cut off at 20 slides maximum. So do not have a lengthy introduction. Make sure that which points have to be told, only that has to be told, just to introduce the condition. If I am doing it on frozen shoulder, I need to just tell what is frozen shoulder. That's all. If I am talking about manual techniques, means if I am comparing 3 techniques, what are the 3 techniques and who introduced them? That is the introduction. That's all. And after that, when it comes to the diagnosis or the differential diagnosis, you should ensure that you follow the globally accepted terminology and the nomenclature, and see that what are the related terms. In AOMPT, there are a lot of options that is available. People have got lot of courses for physical examination. They have attended, completed lot of certification courses, which includes pathomechanics, extension of history taking, so lot of things. So I don't think AOMPT members will have any problem in organizing a case information, because they have been attending the case webinars also, where our members have presented organizing the case structurally. And at the same time, differential diagnosis. So if you are saying that a particular condition was present in a patient, lumbar canal stenosis for example. How can you differentiate from cardiac venous syndrome? How can you differentiate it from a central stenosis from a foraminal stenosis? How can you distinguish the stenosis into arterial versus venous stenosis? Because intermittent claudication. Claudication, how can you differentiate between vascular versus neural claudication? Ultimately, it comes to the pathomechanics there and the differential diagnosis. For those who have completed the specialist courses of AOMPT, you already know that extensively pathomechanics was covered. So it's very easy. And almost all the conditions have been covered by the AOMPT. And the next thing, of course, when it comes to the planning, progression, treatment, you have the short-term plan, short-term goals, long-term goals, and you know that the management can be addressing the short-term goals. Some of the management strategies will address the long-term goals. So that is how is the treatment plan progression. So what are the criteria for the follow-up, for example, or an outcome measurement? How do I say that the patient has improved? I might measure the range of motion, I might measure the pain, I might measure the strength, I might measure the functional performance in a neuro patient. I might also check a 6 minutes walking distance, or I might check the shuttle walk test, or even the pulmonary function, or even a chest x-ray in an ICU patient. So everything is an outcome where the patient has become better. That is what is the structure of a case. It's very easy. We think that it is tough because daily basis we don't actually use this structure. We just go for examination. The sensible therapist. But the shortcut therapist, directly they want to go for treatment. So that is the reason you don't know where to go. You start with the treatment. If that treatment is working or not working, then you go to the other. Then after you see that 3 to 4 treatments not working, then you are checking the patient. So that is wrong. You are getting a picture from the referring orthopedician, or the patient comes to you with a case report, case study, or a case sheet. Or the patient themselves first when they come itself, how you are approaching that. If you are a patient, what do you want it? You want treatment, but you cannot just make sure that every treatment will be beneficial for the patient. You cannot jump into a conclusion. You have to see that for this patient which technique will be better. So that is why evaluation comes there. I don't even say examination, I say evaluation. It's a higher term. Because you rule out the other problems, you rule out the serious pathologies, and you ensure that definitely patient will safely respond to this technique, so then you use it. Be it an electrotherapy or be it even a simple thermotherapy, you cannot assume that it will always benefit unless you evaluate the subject. So remember that history taking, examination and the differential diagnosis or the manual techniques, everything separately, it's a clinical competency. So for that you will have to get trained. If you have the clinical competency, then only performing a research comes there. Clinician who wants to perform a research can do it only if daily basis they keep documenting the cases, they write down in a folder, and they keep that what are the subjective, objective assessment and the planning, the SOAP format for documentation for the cases. Then over a period of time, there is a folder for low back pain, there is a folder for shoulder, there is folder for knee, there is folder for neck pain. Open that and you see that 150 cases you have treated of neck pain over the past 5 years. You summarize all of them by seeing that how many days they took treatment, what treatments were given, how much their improvement was there, whether it is the range of motion, whether it is the neck disability index questionnaire, or is it the upper limb neurodynamic test range of motion, every outcome can be summarized. Like 150 patients were treated for the past 3 years and 60 were having cervical myofascial pain syndromes, whereas the remaining 40 had degenerative changes in the spine with radiculopathy, and remaining another 30 had thoracic outlet syndromes, and of course the last 30 had a combination of presentations which was non-specific neck pain. So what I am trying to tell is this is just about diagnosis. You can pull the data and make a research. That is called as a retrospective study. Already you have seen the patients, but you can collect the data and make it as a paper. My experience, a physical therapist's perspective, management of mechanical neck pain, multimodal management of mechanical neck pain, a case series, a retrospective case series. As a physical therapist in my clinic, how many patients I have seen in the past 3 years of low back pain, and how I actually present that as those who had lumbar radiculopathy were in the younger age group, whereas in the older age group we found the degenerative radiculopathy, not the discogenic radiculopathy. So present the findings, and again average low back pain patient they attended for 2 weeks compared to the neck pain patients who attended for 10 days. So that means lesser sessions of treatment were needed for neck pain compared to the low back pain. So that is how we infer from the documented data. That is why documentation is important. Otherwise clinicians cannot do research, because you are bound by clinical ethics to provide the best treatment. You cannot experiment with new techniques. If you are doing new techniques, you have to do it as a case study. Individually you have to see one patient and then see suitable for the technique, use it and see for pre-post. That's the best that you can do, case reports. Otherwise if you see, it should be the pooled data, and that's very important because there are thousands of clinicians. Imagine that all around India, all the clinicians, they are documenting the data, and their data documentation is in a standard format. It becomes a multi-center data, and we can establish the evidence that ultrasound of this dosage has been shown to be effective in lateral ankle sprain, where the average number of sessions that was given for the patient improvement of 50% is only 3 days. We can conclude that. So that is how it is called as practice-based evidence. It's not evidence-based practice. You are not searching for evidence. You are using the practice as per the patient indication. After that you document properly so that this practice becomes the evidence when we actually see for a larger and a wider perspective. So we should ensure that the documentation should be in a standard format, so that it's easier for us to do the research also, and easier for future people to actually generate it as practice-based evidence and guidelines, practice-based guidelines. Because what we are using in existing practice has to be documented as a guideline, so that people who are underqualified or they are what is called as not aware of these guidelines, not licensed practitioners for example, definitely they will not be up to the par. So either the patients will identify that they are not up to the level, or it's easier for the regulatory authorities to find who are the quacks. So that standards have to be maintained all around the country. However, it's very theoretical because everybody wants to take shortcuts. Patient wants an improvement like a magic. Many therapists just want the money from the patient. So then the priorities change. That's about the outside the ethical boundaries. But comes to conferences, remember that the large number of participants makes it more riskier in a closed space, and of course there is no direct hands-on training. But the contact between one participant to another participant is more right from Water bottles, who is actually picking and giving you? You might be thinking opening the water bottle and just drinking. But the margin of that water bottle, at the same time the food plates, you know how the plates are washed? Don't ask me. They might have kept a disposable plastic paper above the plates. If you carefully watch where the food is served and how the papers are maintained and then how they are kept on the plate and how it is served, you will never have food. Mostly it is outdoor where they keep the shamiana and then they serve the food. That is better. But if they are serving the food indoor in a closed space, again there also cross-contamination. If the organizers are not strict about the vaccination policies or about the rules to define safety for the participants, and of course the participants have to cooperate with the rules of the conference organizers. So ensure that the safe environment is the best for everyone, and also ensure right from beginning till the end you should enjoy the experience of a conference, be it virtual or be it direct, but do not compromise the learning experience, because now treatment itself for patient we are telling virtual reality. Patients can be treated with virtual modalities and make them to feel that they are actually climbing the stairs or climbing a mountain, for example. We can do that. Then why not a virtual conference? So choose the virtual mode, at least for now for 3 months. Do not put yourself or you're putting yourself at risk or the public healthcare system overloaded, especially India-wise. Enjoy the conferences. Wishing you all the best of luck. Tomorrow's session, we have a dedicated session for presentations. We had the questions here, which is the 2 questions from our core committee members, but both were on presentations. It is ideally for tomorrow, where you see that as a presenter, what you should take care. Ultimately, the bottom line is present, take a video of it, watch it yourself. So, every presentation, always you practice and you take a video of it and you watch it yourself. When you watch it yourself, you will get your suggestions as a viewer. That will make you a better presenter automatically. Which how many ever times we emphasize, people don't do that. People think that directly I'll go and present, directly I'll go and present. They never record a video and watch that video. That is the reason why their presentations become nothing. Okay? For people who want to learn clinically, want to upgrade their knowledge, you can see in this Facebook page how many courses are being organized by the AOMPT throughout this lockdown. More than 1,300 hours, webinar hours have been dedicated for upgradation and certification courses. You have a lumbar spine specialist course in which each and every condition, lumbar canal stenosis, 1 hour per pathomechanics and 2 hours for manual therapy, practical demonstrations. So 3 hours for each condition. Lumbar radiculopathy is 3 hours. Lumbar myofascial syndrome is 3 hours. Lumbar facet joint syndrome is 3 hours. Every pathology, lumbar spondylosis is 3 hours, lumbar disc prolapse is 3 hours, lumbar instability or spondylolisthesis is 3 hours. Every condition is 3 hours. So 10 conditions are there. The lumbar spine specialist course. I really advise that clinicians who want to upgrade your skills of treatment or diagnosis, please feel free to contact me and register, enroll in the courses. Your money will be worth every single paisa what you spend, the Indian currency. Because the participants who have already attended have always put their feedbacks. You can also see that, as you can also see the photographs of my demonstrations. You can see in the albums which are created after the course names. So you can just scroll down and keep on watching. The AOMPT Facebook page goes for years and years. So you can see all the courses and the group, Facebook group, which is also shared in the page. When you join the group, you can see all the albums which are for each and every certification course. You can see more than 100 pictures for every course, where how I am holding, where I am demonstrating, what I am actually. But don't think that you can learn everything for free, because BPT degree you didn't do it for free. MPT degree you didn't do it for free. After that, when you are doing continuing professional development or ongoing learning, because those days you learned for exams or for results to clear the degree. Now you are learning for yourself. That means here there should be more value. So you should be ready to invest that at the right resource person, because that is very important. Commercialized people, they don't have any online resources. But the genuine teachers, you teach them, you search them in Google and YouTube, you will find lots of teaching videos. Not just 2-3 minutes of marketing videos. Extensive teaching videos, 1 hour, half an hour. Watch that, listen to that and see how much that person knows. Your conscience will guide you. Yes, he is the best teacher and I have to learn from him only. Then you invest. Definitely it will be worth it for your destiny. God bless you all. Enjoy the conferences. Continue to stay vigilant, alerted. Also remember that this is the first officially documented alert about Omicron, the new variant of the COVID, by any physical therapist in India. So I wanted our physios to be safe. God bless you all. Keep helping each other. Keep spreading the smiles. Keep spreading the positivity. Don't spread the virus.